What's up YouTube? It's your boy Jeep and Bubba, and today I'm going to be talking to you about sound deadening. I just got back from my trip from Jeep Invasion, and after 4 hours in the cab, I know that it's entirely too loud. I didn't really notice it around town, but after riding for that long, every little noise becomes annoying, little rattles, things like that. Well, this thing is silky smooth, except for the fact that it's got a loud exhaust. So, as you guys know in a prior video, I did a MagnaFlow exhaust on it. Now this is like the Off-Road Pro, so it dumps pre-axle. I love the tone of it. It's loud, it's deep, it doesn't sound ricey, it sounds really good. But it adds a lot of reverberation into the cab. And it's mostly when you're leaving an acceleration and it dumps down a gear. So you're on the highway and then it goes from being out of overdrive to in overdrive and you're cruising, around 2,500 RPM. It's brrr, you get that noise. So I threw my phone in the car today, in the Jeep, excuse me, and I ran a decibel meter to see what it do. So my minimum starting on the highway was 79 and the high was 85 with an average of 80 decibels while riding on the highway, which is extremely loud. That's like playing like really loud music or blowing a leaf blower or running a weed eater or running a push mower. That's the kind of noise that we were experiencing just driving 4 hours. Well, I got my big trip to South Dakota coming up, and I don't want to have to deal with that noise. What I was doing to combat it was turning the volume of the radio up, and by the time I got to the hotel on the ride up there, I was like, I couldn't really hear that well. So, what I decided to do was two things. Drink some alcohol. No, this is for prep work, sorry. Sound deadening material and undercoating. The undercoating, I think, is probably what most people would originally think of when they think of trying to come up with a noise solution on their Jeep. There were a lot of brands when I went to the store today. There was, this is Rust-Oleum's undercoating. It's their Pro Edition. There's a 3M Pro Edition. There's a Duplicolor. They have regular. They have just Pro. I went with Pro because right on the front it says deaden sound, which is what I'm going for. And Rust-Oleum was the best price when I went to Advanced Auto Parts. This is a rubberized coating. It's paintable and it dries quick, and it also helps prevent rust. It does not combat rust, but it helps prevent rust. So if you go ahead and fix your rust you have, maybe paint it, clean it up, this right here will help prevent it no matter where you live. The next thing is some sound deadening material. Now, if you're going to get some Dynamat or something similar product, it's fairly expensive. But this is something I found out years ago when I would build some audio systems to tuners. It's duck insulation with self-adhesive foil, and it's an 1/8 inch thick. Now that's not quite as thick as Dynamat, but this is $16 a roll at Home Depot versus about $100, $120 of the equivalent in Dynamat. So all in all, I've got $32 and 2 cans. This is $14 at 50 bucks. Let's see if we can lower the decibels in the cab. Alright, so one of the first things you'll see in the actual, this is an LJ, there is some insulation material that they provide. So I think in the back of the cab's already fairly insulated, but I'm still going to stick some of this, roll of this down. Being a deep Jeep, there's a lot of dirt and there's a lot of just debris and stuff, so I'm going to vacuum that out, and then I'm going to use some rubbing alcohol to clean anywhere there could be a waxy residue. And then let's walk around to the front. When I pulled up the carpet in the front, there's actually no, besides the carpet itself, there's no sound deadening material, there's no insulation. So this is going to be your best place to block sound coming in with the sound deadening material. Also, you may notice on your Jeep that you have drain plugs. Maybe you want to cut those out, or at least mark where they're at in case you happen to need those. And then another thing is, if there's any rust, which I saw a little bit on my passenger side, maybe you want to paint them a little bit before you put this down. So I'm going to put that down first, and then I'm going to go underneath and do the rubberized undercoating. Now the only thing you really need to do to prep that is use a mild detergent to wash, and if you have any rust, I suggest sanding it and painting it with either a primer or like an all-in-one paint and primer. Now that's what I'm going to use. In fact, I'll show you what I use. This just happens to be another Rust-Oleum brand. It's satin black. I like flat or satin. Gloss is just too much for me underneath a Jeep. And this is stops rust. So it actually helps to fight the chemical reaction of rust, and then it prevents it from coming back. So you prep it, clean it, hit it with some paint, and then go over it with the Rust-Oleum. You don't need a real thick coating, but I'm going to use 2 cans for underneath of my Jeep. You might get away with 1 can, but I'm going to do everything under the underneath side. Now, something I'm going to do, I don't have it sitting in here with me, but I just bought a plastic drop cloth, and I'm going to, or you could use a paper drop cloth or whatever you have, maybe some cardboard, and I'm going to put that above my muffler and my axles in places I don't want the paint to get. And so with that, I've let the Jeep cool down for a couple hours, so I'm driving it earlier. So a little top tip for you, maybe you want to cover that, because that little rubberized material on your exhaust will burn off and it'll be stinky as you ride down the road. Not going to cause any harm, but it might be an inconvenience to you. So first things first, I'll get to work, and then let's see the results. Alright guys, so I got the insulation. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So basically I just lay it down flat. It's okay if it overlaps, and I just use my hand to roll it out, but I've seen people using, you can buy a roller on Amazon for the Dynamax, and then or you can use a paint roller. There's another thing you can use. This is the back. I left this section because you actually need these tabs to be exposed. I guess I could have cut around them. I did cut around where the seat's gonna lay. Something I thought about, there's a couple dual purposes that I didn't really think about beforehand. I just really cared about stopping the sound, but this is actually going to help a little bit with heat and cold, keeping it in, if you want to keep it in. Another thing is, I'm going to be sleeping in the back of this every once in a while at our local hunting camp during the winter when it's cold. I may not want a hammock camp, or the weather might be bad, or there's actually a lot of coyotes and hogs and stuff out there, so it's safer to sleep in the Jeep. So this actually be a nice way to kind of cushion just laying on the metal. You got the carpet and the padding, and of course I'd have a camp pad, but this would also kind of help keep my body heat in. So just a pretty neat product. Now I'm going to spray the underside with the undercoating. Hey, I was going to show you guys what it looks like beforehand, so you get an idea. So I just did a little prep work where I cleaned and wiped down, and I just used some paint to touch up places where I saw any kind of surface rust, and I kind of cleaned that up as well. And then I'm going to coat it. And you can see right here where that plastic is, I've covered my exhaust. I'm not really worried about anything else down here, so just cover the exhaust. Alright, now here's going to be the after product. I'm going to light it up a little bit with my phone. It's kind of dark underneath here now. But as you can see, or not see, everything has got a nice rubberized coating, especially where the exhaust is going to be coming out and reverberating. That rubber is going to bounce those sound waves right back down, and it should be a lot quieter in cab. So let's go take a ride. I'll wait till it dries a little bit, but then I'll take you guys on a ride and we'll see what decibels reach. Alright, I hope you guys can see me. It kind of got dark on us, so I got my interior light on. I am driving to see how the sound deadening material and the undercoating did, and in front of me right now is I have my cell phone with a decibel meter app, and it'll kind of tell us what the decibels are at. So I'm cruising right now, and it's showing 78 up to 80, 79, 78, jump to 82 there. Kind of revving and letting off, it got up to 81. But as I'm cruising, I've seen the average at 63 decibels. It's around 70 to high 70s, mid 70s. Before, when I drove on the highway, and even now, even on back roads as I was cruising, that's actually where I heard a lot of the noise. It's actually when the rev lets off. It was averaging 80, and I never saw any 70s. So right now I'm at 81, 82, but it goes back into those 70s, 75, 74. So it did make a slight difference. I would have loved to just got in here and it'd be 10 decibels different right off the bat, but not so much. Now that's 2 coatings of undercoating. I'm probably going to put a little bit more and see if it makes a big difference. But to gain, I think, you know, the average has dropped. Now we're up to 66. But I'm seeing a lot of it being high 70s and peaking at, like, peak being 80 and average 75, if I had to guess what the math would come to. Eventually it'll get up there. Before, it was hanging between 80 and 85. Right now it's hanging between 75 and 80. So we've gained about 5 decibels. So it's gotten quieter by about 5 decibels in here. Not a massive difference, because you think if you're wearing like headphones or something, that would cancel 20 or 30. But I'd say if I was what we would call the butt dyno, you know, when you do a performance mod and then you immediately go out and drive it and you go, oh yeah, it's faster. I would say right now it seems quieter in the cab, and the one thing I can really tell is there's not a large drone in here. It's still not quiet as it was with stock exhaust, but it doesn't have that overwhelming drone, and I think now it's reverberating off of rubber versus metal. So I'll probably let all this drive for today and throw maybe 1 or 2 more cans and see if it makes any difference. I don't think it'll make a huge difference. I'm glad to see 70s, because I'm like, well, cruising kind of lower speeds. I'll let off 70s. I jumped up a little bit there. Of course, me talking's not helping that either. But anyways, I think we saw a small difference. I was almost worried that we'd see no difference. But what I had to gain by doing the sound deadening is also, I'm pretty sure it's going to make it a lot cooler in here. It's going to keep a lot of the hot air and cold air in that whatever you're producing, and keep some of the other out. And it's actually added some cushion under my feet and some cushioning in the back, so it doesn't really hurt. I didn't have that much to lose, but I do feel like it's quieter in the cab, and I can just see by the decibels that it is quieter. It just so it drove for a few minutes, and the average went to 70 with a max of 85. And earlier when I did the similar drive, it was an average of 80 with a max of 85 in about the same amount of time. So I don't think it's exactly perfect. I'm sure I can do something on this roof, this hardtop. There's probably some insulating I can do there, but I do think it's made somewhat of a difference, and I'm pretty happy with it. So I hope this video wasn't a total waste of your time. I know it wasn't a waste of mine. I actually enjoyed doing the work, and I do believe it's given me some results, but not extreme results. And that's how things work sometimes, and that's when you have to weigh, is it really worth my money? You know, there's a lot of people who want to do like throttle bodies and air intakes, and they want to gain all these horsepowers, which they may need to realize is they're only gaining like 1 or 2 horsepower at all. You can see now I just stopped, and if I start talking, it'll get up to 75, 74. So maybe just me talking a little bit. There we go. 60s is a normal conversation. So you can kind of see that. Rustling leaves, 725. So it's actually just slightly louder than a conversation. So it's playing about the sound of normal music being played, and that's okay. So anyways, I was saying, don't pay $600 or $1,000 to gain 1 or 2 horsepower at an RPM that you don't actually use. That's the same results that I would say you should expect when doing the sound deadening. Is we spend $50, we gain 5 to 6 decibels quieter. I think that's significant. Anyways, I'd love to see your comments. I know that I could probably Line-X the whole tub. I know that I could put quieter exhaust. But I just want to see with my current setup, we're just rolling some insulation in there, and with just spraying some undercoating, if it made a significant difference. It made a difference, and we'll see how driving it really makes a huge difference. If you're interested to see how me adding a few more cans and then how like just me driving it day to day, if I think it made a difference, check out the September monthly update. and I'll let you know how driving it for the last couple weeks has really made a difference noise-wise, and how adding a few more coats, if that made a difference or not too. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll be seeing you.